Welcome back. Well, earlier in the week, you would have seen me speaking to Jack Wilde, who's appearing down at the King's Theatre in the stage version of the classic Lavender Hill Mob, and one of the other gentlemen starring in the same production is the one and only Victor Spinetti.
Hi.
Victor, thanks very much for coming in.
Oh, my pleasure.
We'll talk about Lavender Hill Mob in just a little while, but going through your biography, searching through the internet, how many films have you made?
I don't know. I couldn't answer that. I really don't know. You see, I've never made a plan about anything. I've just done these things, and a lot of the films I was invited to do. For example, I mean, when I was doing Old Lovely War in London, the musical, the Beatles came to see it and came backstage, and when they just started, 63, we sort of peaked at the same time in a way. And they came back and they said, "You got to be in our film," George said. And then he said, "You got to be in all our films." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, if you're not in them, me mum won't come and see him because she fancies you." And that's why. Well, not why, but so I did all that.
So that's why you were in. Well, you weren't in Yellow Submarine, were you?
No, the only one not. No, Let It Be.
Yeah.
Yoko played my part in that one.
She was getting in everywhere.
Yeah, she was there.
But I mean, what a claim to fame just to be in those three. But then you were in Under Milk Wood, which in itself is a classic with Bob Dylan. But Richard Burton and Liz Taylor.
I said to him once, I said, "Richard, you always sound, if you want to do an impression of Richard Burton, you always speak on the left vocal cord, the side, you see, like this, you always talk like that." I said, "Why do you only use one vocal cord?" He said, "Well, I keep the other one for drinking."
And quite right too. Did you ever go out drinking with him?
Yes, I did.
And was he a harder drinker as everybody?
Yes, well, Elizabeth could drink both of us under the table.
Could she really?
And it didn't show.
And how about Faye Dunaway? There's just so many names I want to go through.
Well, you see, the main thing is this: the bigger the people I work with, the easier they have been to be with. It's the ones who've been 10 minutes in some sort of series that get a bit funny.
Yeah.
And Faye Dunaway was absolutely remarkable. She said, "You play comedy and you play tragedy, and I'm not very good with comedy. I can't play comedy. What does one do to play comedy?" I said, "You have to listen." She said, "Pardon me?" I said, "Forget it."
Yeah.
But she would ask.
Yeah.
You know, these people are amazing. Orson Welles was the same. I did a film with him, and he said to the director, "The scenes are about him, not about me."
Really?
And most generous people.
Have you written a book?
No.
You've got to do that. You've got to find the time to do that. I mean, just the people you've worked with. I know, but let me
just tell you. The thing about writing a book is when you're just telling it now. For example, you can do the voices. I wrote this play with John Lennon, right? A pair of us wrote this play. And Laurence Olivier said, "You have to come and direct it for us, my dear baby, because none of us understand it." So if I wrote that down, it wouldn't mean anything.
Sure.
Unless you could use that extraordinary voice.
And the play you wrote, you casually mentioned that you wrote with John Lennon, of all people. You won a Tony for that.
No, I won a Tony on Broadway for...
was it?
For Old Lovely War.
Right.
Carol Channing was presenting the prizes. "And the winner is Victor Spinetti." And I thought, you've got to make a speech, right? And I hadn't prepared anything because I didn't expect to win. Really, honestly, I didn't, and you don't know. And it was live, coast-to-coast television, so I finally got to the stand, and I said, "I'd like to make my acceptance speech in the language of the country of my birth." And they thought, "Italian, you know?" And of course, I did it in Welsh, but I can't speak Welsh. But they didn't know that.
They just made it up.
Well, yeah, because just make the tune. The director, Joe Littlewood. Did you want to hear the producer, David Merrick? Hear the cast and my mother.
Well, I'm convinced.
From that little country Victor.
These films, I mean, we're talking about the Beatles and Voyage of the Damned. People might think, okay, that was the 60s, what have you done since? But you've done a lot since. I mean, you worked with Prince and Under the Cherry Moon. What were you doing in that?
Well, there again, Prince said, "You've got to be in the movie."
So what, does he just ring you up?
No, the casting director rang me from Hollywood and said, "Victor Spinetti, Prince would like you to be in this film." "Why?" "Well, because you were in all the Beatle films, and we'd like you to be in this one." "What am I going to play?" "Just be in the film." So I sat
be whatever you want.
For 3 months in Nice, staying in the posh hotel, hanging around in this picture. And
nice work if you can
He was
get
wonderful.
And the Krays, you were in the Krays, the one that starred in the Kemp Brothers.
I knew those.
You knew the Krays?
Well, yes, because...
I suppose they hung up... carry on, we'll stretch the programme.
We were at Stratford East 15, right, playing the Theatre Royal there, as much as I'm now here at the King's. And one day, I was walking down the street to Stratford East 15, and I bumped into the Krays. And they said, "Oh, Vic, how's it going?" Oh, I said, "Not so good this week." I said, "We're doing Shakespeare this week." That night, the theatre was full.
Really?
The word had got around, in there, support the theatre. And I'm here to say support the Kings.
And they were really that all-powerful, were they?
Oh, God, yeah.
This one, I've got to ask you about this one. This is great. Just there's pages and pages of films and TV series you've been in. But can Hieronymus Merkin ever forget Mercy Hump and Find True Happiness? 1969.
They were all in that. They were all in that. Milton Berle was in that. He just died. This great American comic, Mr. Television. What do you do with all those women? He said to Georgie Jessel, this old comic. He said, "What do I do? All I can do now is photograph them." I mean, the one-liners that went on around that table, and Tony Newley wrote that film, directed it, and he had a lady sitting on the set who wasn't in the film, his wife, Joan Collins.
Right.
And Joni was there, and Tony was saying, "She wants to go out to dinner, will you take her out?" So I had to squire her around and take her to do's because he was too busy doing the film.
You had to go out with dinner with Joan Collins?
Yes.
My heart bleeds for you.
Oh, she's great fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. Have you seen these people recently?
Yes, in fact, funnily enough, I think I've seen most of the people, if they're still alive. I mean, I'm hanging on the perch. Till the end of the tour. We're going through the Lavender Hill
another couple of nights in the King's
July,
Theatre at least.
Yes. But yes, I still keep in touch. I saw Joan not too long ago. She did a film, and it was at a party, and we meet at these sort of do's. I see Paul McCartney still because, of course, I live near him in Brighton.
Yeah.
And had a message from Ringo the other day.
Did you? How's Ringo?
He's fine, because my brother, my brother Henry was a drummer. Because of the Beatle films, you see, well, imagine I grew up in this Welsh village, and I went off to London and worked with Joan Littlewood, great theatre director. Nothing. But I suddenly appeared in Hard Day's Night. Well, of course, I was mobbed, chased through the streets. And, of course, all my family sat up and took notice, and my brother wanted to be a drummer, so I bought him a drum set. And the school attendance officer would come to the door and say, "Your boy's not in school again, Mrs. Spinetti?" "No, he's having music lessons." He was in the garage practicing.
Yeah.
Anyway, he went to London, became Eric Clapton's drummer for 6 years.
Really?
Yeah, with Eric, and he played with George, and he played with Paul, played with them all. And he also played with Tina Turner. And I said to him one day, "What was the difference? Do you know that's Simply the Best?" Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
That's Henry.
Yeah.
And I said, "What was it like working with Eric Clapton and then Tina Turner?" "Oh," he said, "well, Eric, you see, would count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tina would go, 1!
And that was it.
In.
Do you have a favourite out of all the people you've worked with? Is there one that you say either they're the best actor, actress, or they're just the nicest people?
Difficult. Orson Welles is quite superb.
I'm sure.
Really amazing. Great man. Because John Lennon, you see. I mean, I'm working with the play. I'm working on the play with him. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's late December. And John, I had this flat then behind Selfridges in London. And John said, "Hey, Vic, let's go somewhere warm." And I thought he meant another room. And we ended up in Africa.
Really?
10 minutes later, a car arrived. "You got your passport?" He said, "It's okay, Vic's got it." Yeah, he's got his passport. Yeah, and the car came, we went to Africa.
What an amazing life.
So next morning we were in Africa.
And now the Lavender Hill Mob, we've got to get this in
it's
because
wonderful, you see.
I keep saying classic, but they are.
It is now. So let me tell you, that script, the Lavender Hill Mob, won an Oscar when it first came out. And all those marvellous Ealing comedies came out after the war, the Second World War. And Britain needed that kind of cheering up, that kind of innocence, that kind of wit, essential Britishness, if you like. And all these Ealing comedies supplied that. Yeah. And now we're on stage with that same script, marvellously transposed for the stage by Clive Francis, And I think we still need cheering up.
Well, the King's Theatre is a beautiful theatre. They had some problems. They needed some money put in. So
please save it.
We need the craze, really, to get people in the theatre.
Well,
support
yeah, it's a bit late now.
Yeah.
But you see, if you're going to save a theatre, it's like a baby being born. You say, oh, there it is, it's born. You can't walk away from it. You don't have to look after it, and nurture it. And a town without a theatre is a city without, well, it's got one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should have another one.
The King's is just so good, but you
stunning.
You need to nurture it, and you can't nurture it any more than putting a show like the Lavender Hill Mob on with people like yourself and Jack and Michael Amelia.
Funny piece. I guarantee you'll enjoy it, and it's short.
And it's been on all this week, Monday through till Saturday, so you've still got a few nights left. 7:30.
That's right.
Victor, we could talk all night because there's so much I still have got to learn from you, but thanks very much for coming in.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
The very best of luck with the remaining 3 nights and the rest of the tour.
Thank you.
After the break, it's time to catch up with all the latest news and weather with Brian Smith and Chris Oatley.